Okay, good luck to everybody. We're in the Perek Arba Mises Bezdin. We discussed skila and how it was done. We discussed sreifa and we discussed hereg, right? And machloikas and hereg. And now we have by mitzvahs hanich nakin, the last mishnah on Nun Beis Amid Beis, the mitzvah of Chanukah. Now, be aware, it doesn't say anywhere in the Torah that there's such a misa called Chanukah. Chenek. Skila state in the Torah. Skila, right? It says in the Torah. It says Makalel. Sreifa says in the Torah. Huh? Rabbi saw up by Bas Kayin. Hereg, Erni Dachas. Where does it say Chenek in the Torah? It doesn't. It does say Chenek in the Torah. So therefore, that lends itself for a limud. Mitzvah nachnokin hayim mishakin oisay bezevel. They put him again. They want to keep him stationary. They put him in zevel. Ad akavoisav up to his knees. They put him in zevel up to his knees. The nicing suda kasha l'teicharacha. In other words, they would do to this what they did by streifa, according to the Chachamim. They took a hard rope, they put it inside a soft rope. So when they pull on the neck, they didn't pull all the way by sreifa. They just that was just a means of getting them to open their mouth to breathe, and they would put the seal of every down the throat. Over here, they would continue doing it until the person would die. But we saw before it was Adam. I assume it's still Adam that Adam would do it. And until what the person would die. So that's the mitzvah of Hanika, how you go ahead and perform chenek. Tan Rabbanan. Okay, what does the pasuk say? This is pasuk by Eshes Ish. It says, V'isha sheyina feseshes ish, a man who's mezana with an eshes ish, a sheyina feseshes reyehu is mezana with the eshes reyehu, mois yumas hanoyef and efes. They both die. So adultery, they both die. Both the male and the female, they both chayiv. It says they both die. Yumas hames. The question is, how do they die? It just says they die, right? It just doesn't kill them. It doesn't say how to kill them, right? So it doesn't say how to kill them. It says the Gemara, ish prat lekatan. A cotton would not die. He says bia of a cotton is not a bia. Asher yunaf es ashes ish, prat ashes cotton. There's a cotton's kedushin is not a kedushin, so she's not an ashes ish. She's not officially an adulteress. Ashes reyehu, prat ashes acherim. This would exclude the ashes of acherim. Rashi says the kutim. This would exclude the ashes kuti. Yeah. Most yumas, how would they die? Bechenek. Maybe skila sreif or hereg. Anytime the Slayer says the word stam misa without going ahead and being specific, you can't go ahead and pull it to the more severe. Says Rabbi Yeshia, when it says you must, you're going to give what? The most lenient. You don't have a permission to go ahead and administer a more severe death penalty. So therefore, says most you must, it's going to be the least. And this is according to the Shita of the Chachamim fellas, who have the opinion that Chenek is on the list of 4 is number 4. Again, remember, according to Rabbi Shimon, it was number 3. Rabbi Yonason says, Loi mifnei shehi kala, not because chenek is the easiest. Ela kol misa amur b'Torah stam ein ela chenek. When it says misa in the Torah stam, it means chenek. So Rabbi Yoshia, he said, by the law of since it says stam, by the law of logistics, it has to be the easiest one. Says Rabbi Yonason, it doesn't have to be the easiest one. That's the halacha. It's chenek. It's not a process of elimination going to number 4 in the 4 slot, because according to that fellas, Rabbi Yishmael would say you get hereg. Fellas, if you use the reasoning of Yoshia, you would get hereg, because that's in the 4 slot according to Rabbi Yoshia. Like Rabbi Yonason, no, chenek. That is the achlata. That's what you get. And Rebbe explains how Rebbe Yonason arrived at that. Rebbe Omer, Nema Misa B'dei Shemayim. It says Misa it says Misa b'dei Shemayim, v'nema Misa b'dei Adam. And it says what? Misa b'dei Adam. It says a person dies as a result of b'dei Shemayim. It says by Erev Oinon, right, guys? But the sons of Yehuda, Erev Oinon, they married Tamar, and it says Vayomas Gamaisai that he also died, meaning Oinon also died. After Erev died, Oinon died. So that's Misa b'dei Shemayim. That was done with Shemayim, and it says Misa b'dei Adam. It says over here Stam Mos Yumas, right? Ma Misa Amur b'dei Shemayim Misa she'ein boroishim. Just like the Misa that it says b'dei Shemayim, after Hashem killed them, you would look at the person, you would not see a discernible difference physically in the individual how they died. Af Misa Umar b'dei Adam Misa she'ein boroishim. Says the Gemara Geschmack. Says the Gemara very, very Shmak that since the Misa b'dei Shemayim, a person after they die, you look at their body, it looks the same. Who had din? This Misa that it says Mois Yumas is you look at the body and you can't tell the difference. So l'chayre it means chenek, because once you strangle the person, you can't tell the difference. Good. Says the Gemara, Ve'ema Sreifa. Maybe it means Sreifa. I guess the assumption is that you look at the body, since they were burned inside, you would not see the outside any discernible difference, right? So in other words, if your svara is Rebbe in the explanation of Rabbi Yonasan, that if the body looks exactly the same way that it looked before, so why not Sreifa, where again the body looks the same way? On that, the Gemara answers, right? Midam Rachmana Bas Koyen. When the Torah says Bas Koyen b'Sreifa, it says a Bas Koyen receives Sreifa. Mechlal the whole lav b'Sreifa he pirish. If the Torah wanted to get Sreifa, it would be more explicit, just like it does by Bas Koyen. Why did it go ahead and say Mois Yumas? To tell you that's chenek. So now we have two shittas, fellas. We have three people talking, but it's only two shittas, right? What do we have? We have an Eishes Ish and the Noyef and the Efes. It says Mois Yumas. What does that mean, Mois Yumas? How do they die? Says the we don't know, right? We don't know. Says Rabbi Yoshia, they must die by the least of what? Of all the mises, because you can't be machmir when you don't know, and therefore it must be the least, which is chenek. So obviously it's going to the chachamim. Says Rabbi Yonasan, that's not the reason. The reason why they get chenek, Mois Yumas, because anytime it's anytime chenek, because it says Mois Yumas. How do I know Mois Yumas means chenek? On that, Rebbe comes to explain the shita of Rabbi Yonasan. I'll tell you how. It says Misa b'dei Shemayim by Erev Oinon, and obviously over there they're dead. You couldn't tell the difference. Who I did what? Over here, Mois Yumas, Misa b'dei Adam. You're killing him. It must be you can't tell the difference. Okay, skila, you could tell the difference. Yeah, guy is smashed in. He fell off a building or a height, or his chest was smashed in. You see a difference. Obviously, hereg, you're going to see a big difference, right? Right? You're going to see the headless horseman, right? For the Gemara, maybe Streifa, you don't see the difference. And for the Gemara, since it says by Bas Koyen Streifa, and over here it says Mos Yumas, it must be Mos Yumas is not Streifa. So what is it? It's chenek. Why is it chenek? Because you can't tell the difference after what the death is administered, after the punishment is administered. Geschmack. For the Gemara, Bishleim el Rabbi Yonasan Kiddukum Mefarish. Rabbi Taima, Bishleim, according to what Rabbi Yonasan, like Rabbi explained the reason, because what it says Misa b'dei Shemayim, Misa b'dei Adam. El Rabbi Yoshim in my deikachenik ba'olam. Ein Masayif. Guys, why did he say? Why did Rabbi Yoshia say? You can't go what? To the most chomadika Misa. So therefore it must be what? Chenek. I asked you in the beginning of Shir, fellas, Vu state chenek in the Torah. It never says chenek anywhere. So maybe it's sayif. Going down the list. According to everybody, sayif is after skila and sreifa, correct? So it says Rabbi Yoshia, you can't administer the most severe. So skila is out and sreifa is out. Maybe it's sayif. How do you know it's chenek? Geschmack. It's a Gavalga Kasha. Since it doesn't say chenek in the Torah anywhere, why would you assume there's such a thing called chenek? Maybe it's sayif. Because sayif, it says, we're in idachas. We know there's such a misa. On that, the Gemara answers, Amarava, Arba Misas Gemara Gemiri Lahu. This is Messiah, fellas. Arba Misas is Gemara Gemiri. There's Allah Chumash Misinai. Says Rashi, Arba Misas, right? Bishmon Hanakav Lahem, the name that is set for them. The Kiman Shlei Pirshu Lemi Nasan Chenek, and as we know there's four. We know there's Skila, we know this Sreifa, we know this Hereg, and we know this Chenek. And Al Karcha Kolahi, since it doesn't say Chenek, it must be the easiest. Mikulan. V'anichal Stume Sheina Rishayla L'Mashchal L'Hachmer Leha. And we leave it stam, because you can't be Moishechit to a more severe one. Therefore, it's not necessary to explain. In other words, what's the teretz? You want to know Rabbi Yoshi how we knew it's chenek? Because we had Allah Moshe Sinai fellas that there are what? There are four. And what are the four? Skila, Sreifa, Hereg, V'chenek. And since it says most yumas, and it doesn't say chenek anywhere else, it must be chenek is the most what? Lenient, because you can't be Moshe the most severe. And the melo, that's why I know chenek. So again, bottom line is, at the end of the day, there's machlok is how you arrive at it, but an Eshes Ish gets chenek if she goes ahead and is mizana. Adultery, they would get chenek. Okay. Now, my loy mifnei sheikala, the words of Rabbi Yonason. Rabbi Yonason is saying to Rabbi Yoshia. Rabbi Yoshia says what? Rabbi Yoshia says you're going to get the most kala, the most what? The easiest one. Says Rabbi Yonason, it's not because it's the most easiest one. It's because it's similar, according to Rabbi. It's bidei shemayim, and you don't have a difference in the body after the death. So when Rabbi Yonason said, "My loy mifnei sheikala," that's the lashon of the brayso. So kamif leave plug to Rabbi Shimon v'Rabbanon. The argument of Shimon and the Rabbanon, right? Rabbi Yonason's holding like Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Yonason's holding like Rabbi Shimon, and Rabbi Yoshia is holding like the Rabbanon. So just to reiterate, Rabbi Yoshia now knows this for Mrs. Bezdin. He says you're going to get by. If you don't know which one to give, you're going to give the easiest one. What's the easiest one? Chenek. That's the opinion of the Chachamim. Comes along Rabbi Yonason says, "Lo mifnei shu kala." That's not the reason. Because in fact, what? In fact, fellas, Hereg is what? Is the easiest one. Because I hold like Rav Shimon. Hereg is number 4, not Chenek. Ella, so why are you getting Chenek? Like Rabbi said, because you don't have a difference in the body after the death is administered. Guys, we're good? We're good to go. Good. I'm ready. I need one person to shake the head. As soon as one person shakes the head, I go on. Kenny shakes his head, we're good. There you go. But I think it makes a lot of sense. Says the Gemara Vaita. Amalei of Zerah Abaya. Sharon is skulling the like Sibhu skila, all the niskulim where it doesn't say skila openly. It doesn't say openly skila. Where do you learn it from? The Gemiri may oiv v'yedaini. We learn it out from the parsha of oiv and yedaini. There's a parsha in the Torah, fellas. I don't have the pasuk in front of me, but if I remember correctly, it says be'evin yegmu esam demeim bum. It says you stone them, demeim bum, their blood is upon them. Most yumas, avanim yegmu esam demeim bum. Oiv yedaini with 2 types of practices of oiv was bringing up the dead. Yedaini was putting a bone of an animal called the Yadoah that could tell the future. It has its roots in Avodah Zarah. So now, he says that Shana skull and Blake Sibu Skila the Gamri Movi Yedoni, but my Gamri, which words from Oivi Yedoni are you learning it from? The Moshe Musu, are you learning it from the words Moshe Musu, Gemiri? Oibidemeyim Bam. Or you're learning it what from the words what? Bidemeyim Bam. Maybe I have the pasuk here over here. So by Oivin Yedoni and Bechol and anyone who gets skila, it says Moshe Masan, and also it says the Meyim Bam. Which are the words that are causing you to get skila? The Moshe Yumas or the Meyim Bam? Now, when Rabbi Zera says this, fellas, it must be he has a kasha if you're going to learn it from Moshe Musu. That's the diak of the Gemara. Does he learn from A or B? Because if you learn from A, I got a problem. If you learn from A, I got a problem. That's what the Gemara is saying now. The Ibn Moshe Musu Gemiri, the Mayhem Lamali, Ella Maibe the Mayhem, the Mayhem Gemiri, Mos Yumas Lamali, Kidatanya, Mos Yumas Hamake Reitseachu. Mos Yumas Hamake Reitseachu. If you get a murderer, right? So how do you know that you're supposed to give him decapitation, hereg? How do you know if you can't give him hereg? You can't give him hereg. Any which way. Most yumas hamake. So that's what he learns. The one who says the mayim learns from most yumas that any which way you can kill him. That's like it says by Ofer Yidani, which is skila. Any which way you can kill the Reitzach, you kill him. Mikol makam. And if Reb Zera, you learn skila from the words most yumas that it says by Ovi Yidoni, my kashale, what would be shver? Guys, in other words, if you're learning from the word most yumas from Ovi Yidoni, then there must be another place where it says most yumas that you don't get skila. Guys, eye contact. Again, Ovi Yidoni says two words. It says most yumas and it says the mayim bam. Good? And it says skila, be'evan yirgmoy side. That's the source for skila. Now, if you're going to learn from the words mos yumas from Oivi Yadaini, then any place in the Torah that it says mos yumas, you should get skila. That's the problem Reb Zera has, because he's going to show you other places where it says the word mos yumas and you don't get skila. Like, for example, Eishes Ish, that you get chenek. That's how it comes into the sugya here. That's how it flows into the sugya. Says the Gemara. What was the shver? Ilema eishes ish kokashale, right? That it says lemesi veligma mois yumas meyavi yadaini malahalim beskila avkam beskila. And what did we say at the beginning of shir? Mois yumas. What do you get eishes ish? You get chenek. So if you can learn from the mois yumas, you shouldn't get chenek, guys. You're going to get skila. Says the Gemara, Midam Rachmana Arusa Beskila. We can figure out when it says Arusa, a Naira Marasa gets skila, Mechal din Asua, lag beskila. So a regular adulteress who's not an Arusa is not beskila. So that couldn't have been the problem. Even if you learn Mois Yumas from Yidoni, over in Yidoni, it would not be a problem by adultery, Eishes Ish, because we know it can't be skila. You know why? Because only a Naira Marasa gets skila. But in the Sua, once she's not an Arusa, she doesn't get skila, so she'll get chenek. It says Mois Yumas. But we know the chilik between an arusa and an asua. Ve'ela maka of v'imay, someone who hits his parents le'olenu kakashale. Limsi v'ligma mi'ovi yadaini. Right, let's learn from ovi yadaini. Adigami mi'ovi yadaini ligma mi'eshes ish. Because it says most yumas by maka of v'imay. It says most yumas. Good. So guys, look at me. Look at me. Here you have over here. I have over here most yumas by ovi yadaini. I have over here most yumas by what? By eshes ish. And I have most yumas, my head being what? Being makov of imay. So what are you going to say? If you learn most yumas, you're going to go in this direction. Maybe you go in this direction, as I've read the Gemara. Says the Gemara back inside. Malahalam beskila. When you learn from Ovi Yedoni for skila, you could just as easily learn from Eishes Ish, you get chenek. Because you don't have permission to go ahead and bring them more severe, like Rabbi Yoshia. Amalei. Okay, so therefore, in other words, therefore there is no problem. Even if you learn from Moshe Yumas, there's no problem. So what's the problem of Rabbi Zera? What was Rabbi Zera's problem, fellas? Guys, two places where it says Moshe Yumas. Two places where it says Moshe Yumas. One, by adultery. Two, by hitting your parent. If you're going to learn Moshe Yumas from Oivi Yidoni, you should get skila. Says the Gemara, no, you won't get skila. By adultery, I know you won't get skila because you only get skila by nair murasa, not in a sua. By maka ova v'imai, once I've established by eshes ish, it says most yumas and the chenek. Why would I go ahead and be forced to say most yumas goes in the skila of yidomi direction? I can go most yumas in the eshes ish direction, which is chenek. So why? So what's the kasha? What's bothering Reb Zera? And for the Gemara, I'll tell you what's bothering Reb Zera. Ella. So Ella says Ella Amalei Sharon is skull gufayo kakashle. All the other cases where you get skila is shver. The ibn mas yumas gemiri ad the gemiri me'ovi yidaini ligmer me'eshesish. When it says mas yumas by the other skolim, why are you going to ovi yidaini? You could just as easily go to eshesish and learn out chenek. That's the kasha of Reb Zera. Masha'en kain, if I learn from the Mayim Bam, then it's not a problem. Right? Then the Mayim Bam is not going to be a problem. Now, we're going to get the whole list, fellas. I sent out a list. Let me see. Yeah, I don't have it on my screen, but I sent it out to everybody. It's the Rambam. The Rambam gives his list. The Rambam gives his list of those who get skila, those who get sreifa, gogs ahenef. It's a very good list, comprehensive. You should keep it for yourself. As we go through the Masechta, it gives you a frame of reference. I sent it to everybody. It's the Rambam in Perek Tesvav from Hilchos Sanhedrin. I think it's Halacha Yud, and he goes through Elohim Neskalim, Elohim Nesrafim, and now this Mishnah is where we see those are the ones who get what? The ones, just 1 second, those are the ones who get Elohim Neskalim. There were 18 people to get skila, fellas. Total of 18 people who get skila. Good? Habala Aim, someone's with his mother. Val Eshes Av, his stepmother. Alakala, his daughter-in-law. Ve'ala Zachar, another male. Ve'ala Behema, an animal. Ve'la Medvia es Abehema, or a woman who's with an animal. Ve'megadev, someone who's Megadev Kodesh Baruch Hu. Ve'oived Avodas Kechavim, someone who serves Avodah Zarah. Ve'anoisim Mizarei L'moilech, someone who gives over his child. There used to be a form of fire serving. It's listed different in Avodah Zarah, where you'd walk a child through fire. Again, the Gemara is going to discuss each one of these cases individually. Ubal oivi yidoni that we just met. V'machalas a Shabbos. V'makalal of imo. If you curse your parent, fellas, it's worse than if you hit your parent. If you hit your parent, you get chenek. If you curse your parent, you get skila. Right? Rashi tells you why. It has the color and this embarrassment over there. Look at Rashi, guys. It's more chum than if you hit them. Mishum the ikatarti, kolin aviv imoy, the embarrassment of them. We might see shem shemayim levatala. You hear it? And you might see mekalo, you'll be might see shem shemayim levatala. So that's skila. See the koyach of a dibur, right? You would think you ask a guy, what's worse, hitting your parent or cursing your parent? They would say cursing your parents is a mitzvah, right? I'm saying that. You see the koyach of a dibur, right? The koyach of a dibur in Yiddishkeit, the koyach of the mouth. That's what the yid is, the mouth. You might say Shem Shemayim. It's again skila. We know that well. Mesis, someone tells a yachid to do avodah zarah. V'hamadiach, a rabbin, mesis hamadiach. Rashi explains the difference, guys. So you heard the lashon. Mesis when you go ahead and you go for an individual. Mediach is what is you go for a rabbin, like Erani Dachas. Machashef, magician, sorcery. And Soiru Moria, we'll have a whole parak on that. Haba ala aim. Now this is going back over number 1, fellas. This is going to be the discussion for today and tomorrow, a good part of today and tomorrow. Haba ala aim. Someone's with his mother. Chayv alem mishum aim u'mishum eshes av. You chayiv twice. You chayiv for your mother, and you chayiv out for eshes av, and you chayiv for eshes av. So now, if you look at Rashi, haba ala aim b'shoigeg chayiv lo shtei chatois. Now, if it's b'mezid, fellas, you can only get killed once. Guys, if it's b'mezid, you can only get killed once. So Rashi is bothered by what are you talking about? So Rashi is answering, what do you mean two chiyuvim? B'shoigeg chayiv lo shtei chatois. The bekula aroyas ksiv b'hu karis. By all the aroyas in Parshas Achrimos, it says karis. Uksiv b'hu chalak chatois. And it says by them, each one is divided regarding karma chatas. V'afilu b'guf echad. Even in one body, like this, you're with your mother, there's 2 chiyuvim in one body, right? Aim and eshes av. So therefore, you be chayiv twice and be 2 chatois. Kedamina perek basu the Masech Demakas. Well, you know, the word is speaking, why is a choisei taken out of the whole parsha of a karis when they all get karis in general? So why is it taken out? Right? It's your sister from both. Okay, so the Chacham say if one Leolam is with his mother, he be chayev 2 chatois b'shoigeg, als one als mother and one als your father's wife. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, ein chayev elim b'shuma ein belvad. You're not chayev for Now, it seems you never chayev for Eishes Av. With your mother, you never chayev for your father's wife. What about Eishes Ish? Guys, what about Eishes Ish? See Taisvis, the small Taisvis, second Taisvis in the bottom. Mishum Eim Mishum Eishes Av. Hadalek Katani Eishes Ish. Mishum Dehachal Achan Misa Iri. Right, speaking after what? After you're dead. So then after one's father's death, you be chayiv for what Eishes Av, you be chayiv for what mother, you will not be chayiv for Eishes Ish. Very geschmack. Okay, now. So Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Ein chayiv only mishum ha'ein bilvad. Again, Shittas Rabbi Yehuda, you're not chayiv ever, no matter what, any which way, you're not chayiv for Eishes Av, you're chayiv only for mother. Haba al Eishes Av. What about if you're your stepmother? Chayiv mishum Eishes Av or mishum Eishes Ish. You chayiv al Eishes Av and Eishes Ish. Bein b'chayi aviv, whether the father's alive. Bein la'achamisa. This is speaking about the lav of Eishes Av. Once he's dead, there's no Eishes Ish. It's going back on his stepmother. Don't think that as long as they're married, then there's this of an erva. But once they're dead, there's no longer this erva. Bein min erisin, it doesn't make a difference whether your father did not live with her. Bein min asuin, but he did live with her. You chayiv al Eishes Av. Haba al kalasai, chayiv alem mishum kalasai, or mishum Eishes Ish. You be chayiv al daughter-in-law and Eishes Ish. Bein b'chayiv b'noi, she's still your daughter-in-law whether your son's alive. Bein la'acha misa, it's still considered misas b'no. Nonetheless, it would be your daughter-in-law. Bein min erisin, bein min asuin. Okay, we're going to focus totally on Rabbi Yehuda Shita. Why was Rabbi Yehuda Shita? If a man lives with his mother, you chayiv only for mother. You're not chayiv for Eishes step. You're not Eishes Av. If the kedushin wasn't a good kedushin, so this Rabbi Yehuda, fellas, is arguing on Rabbi Yehuda by Mishnah. Our Rabbi Yehuda in the Mishnah does not make a chilik whether what it's roy or not roy. Even if it could be the best kedushin in the world, you're still only going to be chayav for aim. This Brisa says, this Rabbi Yehuda in the Brisa says, you know when you're not chayav for Eishes Av? Only when your father is really not married to her. The kedushin was not good. And therefore, in that case, since the kedushin wasn't good, you're not chayav for Eishes Av. But it's arguing on the Mishnah. He says over here, you're chayav for aim also. If you look at Rashi, guys, it's a bit obscure. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, where the lines go wide, four or five lines down. Hai Tana Poligatana Didon. This Tana of the Brisa is arguing on our Tana. The lay maflig the Rabbi Yehuda, our Tana does not make a chilik bein ru'uya l'she'en ru'uya, whether it was the kedushin was roy or not. The high Tana islay the hainu time of the Rabbi Yehuda lehoya loyla aviv ishus ba. The reason why you potter is because there wasn't an Eishes Av. Hilkach le'kabrina be Eishes Av. But let's say the kedushin was good kedushin like this, you would be chayav for both. You would be chayav. So it's a little, but a major nuance, right? The difference that you see, Rabbi Yehuda says the mother. Don't make a mistake and think that this Rabbi Yehuda of the Brisa is Rabbi Yehuda in the Mishnah. It's not. It's not. It's not. It's a big difference. Tanya back in the Gemara. Tanya Rabbi Yehuda Aimer. If the mother was not what roy la'aviv, ain't a chayav el mishum ein bovat. My ain't a roy. What do you mean that there was no ishus? What do you mean there's no ishus? You're telling me that what? There wasn't, why? Because the relationship between the woman and the man was one that would go ahead and make Bichai of Mrs. Bezdin. Right? The Chachamim would hold, even though it's Roy, you Bichai of Eishes Av. Remember, the Chachamim argue, they say Yichai of Eishes Av. Why in the world, if a man would be Makadish his aunt, his paternal aunt, which is a Chi of Karas, or his sister, how in the world could you go ahead and think that what there would be good kedushin over there? There's no kedushin over there. The Chum would not be Mechadi what's Eishes Av. It's Nishkain Eishes Av. Says the Gemara, unless like kedushin begavod, there's no kedushin bechlal. Ella, here's the chiddush, fellas. You know what Eineroy means? It means Chayve Lavim. Amon l'koyin gadol, Grusha v'chalutz l'koyin hedyet, Chayve Lavim. Nisin, Mamza. For Rabbi Yehuda Savala, Rabbi Akiva, the Amar, Ein Kedushin Toisim b'Chayve Lavim. We remember from our Yavamis days, right? Rabbi Yehuda's most severe shita, that Kedushin, Rabbi Akiva, excuse me, is kedushin is not typhus by Chave Lavin. So now the Chachamim, however, hold kedushin is typhus by Chave Lavin. So guys, that will be pshat in the Brisa. Rabbi Yehuda says if the Amon is with the Kohen Gadol, and now there's no ishus, memela, there's no eshes av. All there is what is mother. On the other hand, if so, let's say a woman had a child, child's kosher v'yasha. She's now an almana. Her husband Nishis passed away. She marries the Kohen Gadol. And then the child is with the mother. Then the child's with the mother. So, Loit Rebbe Yehuda, the Baal Kedushin is not typhus. You be chayiv only for what? For mother. Loit the Chachamim, since Kedushin is typhus by Chave Lavim, you be chayiv not only for mother, you be chayiv for Ashes Av also. That's the case. But that's the case only like the Brisa fellas. In the Mishnah, we make no chilik. Rabbi Yehuda in the Mishnah makes no chilik. He'd also be chayiv for Ashes Av. He also argued there. Even when Kedushin is chal, he'd argue there. Because he says it's a different limud, guys. So that's the chilik between Rabbi Yehuda the Brisa and Rabbi Yehuda the Mishnah. I'm going to repeat it again. Guys, look at me, let me repeat it again. We have Rabbi Yehuda saying in our Mishnah that if a man is with his stepmother, that Yechayev for, and it's his mother, right? A man is with his mother. His man's with his mother, who's married to another man, right? His stepfather. Good? So now, if he's with her, how many chiyuvim are there? And the nafkamina would be b'shoigeg, right? Where you have to, how many chatois do I have to bring? Okay? Says the Chachamim, you have to bring 2. Says Rabbi Yehuda, you have to bring 1. What does that mean? No matter what the Kedushin is, whether it's Kedushin that's good, it doesn't make a difference. As long as there is Kedushin and she's Ashes, she's what? She's a man's wife, you're going to be chayiv. That's the Chachamim. Says Rabbi Yehuda, nope, you're only chayiv for mother. Always. Only chayiv for mother. Comes along Rabbi Yehuda of the Brisa, and he gives a little pitchifka. He says, when do you say Yechayev only for mother? That's when the father, there was not really what? It was Chayev Elavim, and the Kedusha is not Toifis. So Memele, there is no Ashes Av. Why? Because the Ramana can't be married to a Kohen Gadol, because I hold like Rabbi Akiva that Kedushin does not work between Ramana and the Kohen Gadol. Like Rabbi Yehuda of our Mishnah, you would still be Chayev only once. Even if Kedushin would be Toifis, because he only goes, he has a limud. If anyone's with you, if you're with your mother, no matter what, you're only chayiv once. That's it. Rabbi Yehuda Baisa, no. The reason you only chayiv for mother, because there is no Kedushin by the stepfather. Why is there no Kedushin by the stepfather? Because he's a Kohen Gadol, she's an Almana. Good. Let the Chacham on the other hand would hold no. Okay. So that's the Gemara. Masir Rabbi Shia, says Rabbi Shia. It's the mitzvah of Issa Kedushin. Now we're going back to Yavamis. A very, very hard blot in Yavamis, by the way. So there's an Issa Mitzvah and an Issa Kedusha. But what they are is not important. We'll bring them in. Guys, what's as important at the end of the day, guys, listen to me. At the end of the day, Rabbi Yehuda cannot hold like Rabbi Akiva. At the end of the day, we're going to show Rabbi Yehuda says Kedushin is typhus by Chayav Elavim. That's, in other words, whatever we come now, in other words, whatever, going back to, Yavamis 101, at the end of the day, we're coming back to the fact that, like Rabbi Yehuda, Kedushin will be typhus, and Memela, you don't have pshat now, the way in Rabbi Yehuda of the Brisa. That's what the Gemara is going to about to embark on. Master Rabbi Shia, Issa Mitzvah Kedusha, what does that mean? If a man, guys, the first mission in Kedushin, in Yavamis, man has 2 wives. He has 2 wives. One of them is an Issa Erva. The wife dies. The Issa Erva forced him. His mother his son married a niece. She falls to him. There's nothing. No chalitza, no yibam. Zero. Let's say the one falling to him is what? Is an Issa Mitzvah and Issa Kedusha. Then you don't do yibam, but you do chalitza. In other words, you're not off the hook totally. You have to go ahead and free up. There's chalitza. So that's what the Gemara says. It's a mitzvah kedusha, chalitza mishibemis. On the base. It's a mitzvah. What exactly is a mitzvah? Shniya is mitevei seifrim. A shniya. You know what a shniya is? Your mother's mother. Your grandmother's a shniya. Your father's mother. These are shniyas laroyas. So in this hechatimsa, if that would fall to you, give chalitza, don't do yibum. V'may korele is a mitzvah. Why they call this a mitzvah? She mitzvah l'shmoya de b'chacham. It's a mitzvah to the words of the chachamim. Issa kedusha. What's an issa kedusha? Alman l'koyin gadol grusha v'chutz l'koyin hedyet. V'may korele issa kedusha. Dechsiv kedoshim yiyu lele heihen. B'tanya Allah. Rabbi Yehuda machlif chelufei. Machlif meaning Rabbi Yehuda says the following, fellas. Kedusha is a shniyah laroyas. The mitzvah is the Aman l'koyin gadol. So, in other words, he's just switching around the interpretation of kedusha and mitzvah. Good, but he didn't change the halacha, guys. He's still sacheletzes. He's still sacheletzes, correct? So, guys, fair ice. Before you see the Gemara, look at me. Fair ice. In a case where you have an Aman l'koyin gadol falls to you for yibum, what do? You give chalitza. But one second, according to what you learned, you don't have to give chalitza. There's no kedushin. Ella, when you give chalitza, what do you see? There is a zika. So therefore, Rabbi Yehuda can't hold like Rabbi Akiva. Therefore, he can't hold like Rabbi Akiva because he's saying that what there's a zika. Says the Gemara. You're just switching around. Issa kedusha. What the definition is? But her chalitza boy, you would need chalitza. By alman l'koyin gadol. And if you're going to tell me that Rabbi Yehuda holds like Rabbi Akiva, that there's no kedushin, michte chayve lavim l'Rabbi Akiva kechayve krisis dame. Rabbi Akiva holds that there's no, again, chayve lavim is the same thing as chayve krisis. So guys, let's say again you have a grusha falling to a kohen. Kohen is married. Right, Kohen has a brother who's married to two women. One of them was an Issa Gerusha. The brother dies. Two women are falling now in front of what? Of this Kohen. Does he have to give chalitza to the Gerusha? According to Rabbi Kiva, he doesn't. Because there's no Kedushin. There was never Kedushin with the first brother. There was no Kedushin with the first brother, correct? Because it's not Typhus. But this case, guys, you would have to give chalitza. Why are you giving chalitza? There was never kedushin. One more time. One more time. Oh, you have two brothers. They're both kahanim, obviously. Good. One of them is not a nice boy. He went ahead. He married a regular woman. He also married a gerusha, which he shouldn't have. He dies. Falling to this brother now are two women. One that is roy for what? For right, one that's roy, and one that is not, and one that is not. Okay. Let's say this woman she's out of the picture. She's out of the picture. Okay. You know what? She was in the picture. She was never in the picture. He married a chalutza, right? So she's at tzara, right? So now the question is, do you pater at tzara? Okay, this is two. Does she pater at tzara or not? So if you hold kedushin is typhus by chayve lavim, doesn't pater at tzara. If you hold kedushin isn't typhus, it's the same thing as this would be your daughter. Your daughter, and we know your daughter paters both. So would it pater or not? It says that what? So now back to our case. If an issa mitzvah, it's a mitzvah, which is almanol kohen gadol, according to Rabbi Yehuda, falls in front of a yavam, give chalitza. Why are you giving chalitza? You don't have to give chalitza if kedushin is not typhus. Ella, you have to say Rabbi Yehuda holds what? Kedushin is typhus. Good. So let's go back to the Yom and Aleph. Says the Gemara. Tanya, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, if his mother was not right to the father, we're learning right now, why wasn't it Roy? Because it was Chayve Lavin. Because it was Chayve Lavin. That's why it wasn't Roy. It was a Gerusha to a Kain. And Rabbi Yehuda holds Chayve Lavin like Rabbi Akiva. Therefore, if the man is with his mother, he's only Chayv for the mother. Guys, we just destroyed that. Because he can't hold like Rabbi Akiva. Memela, what's the case of Ein Royla? What's the case? What's Pshat and Rabbi Yehuda of the Brisa? That's what we want to know right now. You attempted to say it's what? it's Rabbi Yehuda according to Shitas Rabbi Akiva that kedushin is not tavis b'chai ve'lavim. You're not successful, guys. That doesn't work. Good. So we're back to bar one. So what's pshat in Rabbi Yehuda? Why in the world are you just going to go ahead and be chayav for mother and not what? Eshesav, father's wife. So that we're going back to that kasha. That's what we're going back to. Okay, back in the Gemara. Hmm? Hmm. And for the Gemara, the Devorah of the Tanakama Kamar, the Leile Sphirele. Okay, I got a very good answer. You know what? He really holds what? When he said Chalitza, he was saying the words of the Tanakama. He holds like Rabbi Akiva. He tackles like Rabbi Akiva, that Kedusha is not typhus, and therefore what? Your pshat was a correct pshat. You're saying now that what? That he's saying that not like Rabbi Akiva. He's saying that you, according to Tanakama, who don't hold like Rabbi Akiva, right? But I do hold like Rabbi Akiva. But if you do hold like Rabbi Akiva, this is Kedusha and this is mitzvah. Okay, that would be the easiest teretz. You know, we're keeping the teretz intact. We're keeping the teretz intact, and we're just going ahead and saying that okay, so very good. So what did Rabbi Yehuda accomplish? He accomplished to tell me the difference between kedusha and mitzvah. It's not like you said a mitzvah is a shniya. A shniya is a kedusha, and that you said a chalitza is a kedusha. I hold it's a mitzvah, but not that you need chalitza. So that's the first teretz. Kiyas Rabbi Yitzchak, he has a different pshat. Kiyas Rabbi Yitzchak Tani Kitanan Rabbi Yehuda Omer Ein Chayiv Elim Mishum Ha'ein Bilvad. In other words, he had the girsa like our Mishnah fellas. He didn't make a chilik royala, not royala. He said if a man is with his mother, then he's only bechayiv what for mother. Now, this is a difficult. We're getting into a very difficult Gemara tomorrow, by and large. I saved it for tomorrow. This is the pasuk that is very. Ervas avicha, the erva of your father, the erva simecha, and the erva of your mother, lois segala, you should not reveal, imchahi. Now, here's the way I would translate the pasuk. Ervas avicha, you shouldn't do an act of znus to your father. The ervas imecha, you shouldn't do an act of znus to your mother. Lois segala, imchahi, she's your mother. That's not the way Rabbi Yehuda darshans it, guys. Rabbi Yehuda is going to have a gzeira shava on these words. It says ervas eishes avicha. Ervas eishes avicha, and it's not speaking about doing this with your father. It's speaking about doing this with your mother. And what does it tell us? That if you do this with your mother, imchahi, you only chayiv for what? For imcha. You only chayiv for mother. That's going to be the limit. Why is this still on the screen? I have no idea.
We're clear. Back to you.
This is not good. I have this thing on the screen. I don't know why. I should say share and stop share.
We have nothing abnormal.
Good.
We just have the regular.
I'm good. I'm totally good now. Guys, did you see that limud? Did you see that limud? If you read the pasuk literally, it means the erva of your father, and it makes no sense. I mean, so this is the way he dashes the pasuk, fellas. Rabbi Yehuda ein chayiv el mishum ein bilvad. The time of Mai, Amar Abaya, the Amakra, imchahi. Mishum imoyat mechayvoi, when you're with a woman who's both your mother and your father's wife, you're only chayiv for what? For imchi. You're only chayiv for your mother. V'yat mechayv mishum eshesab, but you're not chayiv for your father's wife. Elamiyata. So now here's next pasuk. Okay, guys, what does this pasuk say? Ervas eshes avicha, the erva of your father's wife, lois segala avichahi. He's your father. He's your father. This is doing it. He's your father, as I state. Elamiyata. Ervas Eishes Avicha Lo Segala Ervascha Hi. Mishum Eishes Av Atam Mechayva Vi Atam Mechayva Mishum Imai. Guys, listen to what he just said. I'm going to bring the screen out one more time. Look at the screen. This pasuk, how we dashing this pasuk, guys? How we dashing this pasuk? Watch the first pasuk. Ervas Avicha, the erva of Eishes Avicha, the erva of your father's wife. You should not have znus with. She's your mother, meaning you only mechaif a mother. Good. Now, right over here. Let's darshan over here. The same drasha. Ervas Eishes Avicha, the erva of your father's wife, leisagala avichahi, meaning you only mechaif a father's wife. You won't be chaif a mother. Is that a little counterintuitive? So you're gonna be pata, guys. If you make the drasha imchi avichahi, it comes out, right? It comes out that what? It comes out that you'd be pata completely. It's so counterintuitive. Ervas eishes avicha imcha yichai fawat for imcha. Ervas eishes avicha avicha. So you only chayiv for what? Father and not mother. So says the Gemara in Abaya's opinion, if your miyut is from avicha is from imchahi, then you have to make a miyut for the next pasuk, which avichahi, which would create a total situation. Okay, I'm pata completely, which of course makes no sense. It's kishmak. Says the Gemara. Let's see the Gemara. Elamiyata. If you're going to darshan this miyat of imchahi, ervas eishes avicha leisagala, ervas avichahi, mishum eishes avat mechayva. If you only avicha, you'll chayiv for what? Your father. Viat mechayv. Why his father? Eishes av. El mechayv mishum imay. El, what do you have to say? El imay shehi eishes aviv koi hacha u'mayla. This is just very wordy. Koi hacha u'mayla. Hashta imay shein eishes avim mechayva. Eishes av shein imay mechayva. Imay sheishes aviv le mechayva klal. No, it's Rashi basically takes out the whole thing. That last two lines, because it's everything I just told you. Meaning you're not going to be chayiv at all. So guys, let's chas Rebbe so far. What we got? What we got is a shita of Rabbi Yehuda. He's saying that what Rabbi Yehuda of a brisa, we explained it according to the shitas of Rabbi Akiva. We have Rabbi Yehuda of the Mishnah that says when you're with a regular woman who's married to your father, it doesn't make a difference. To one's doesn't be your father. It could be it's Adrab, it's your stepfather. You're married to the stepfather. Says Rabbi Yehuda, you only chayiv for mother. Suggests the Bai. You know why you chayiv only for mother? Because Rabbi Yehuda darshans ervas avicha, the erva of your father doesn't mean the erva of your father. It means erva eishes avicha, the erva of your wife, the wife of your father, and you only chayiv for imchahi. Right, the Gemara, if that's the case, the next pasuk that says erva eishes avicha chayiv what avicha, you only chayiv for eishes av, you're not chayiv for what for mother. So meaning you're not chayiv at all. If you can make the two limudim, the limudim imchahi and avicha, you'll be chayiv at all, which makes no sense. So therefore, we're stuck. What's pshat in Rabbi Yehuda of the Mishnah? Again, this is Rabbi Yehuda of the Mishnah who says you're always only chayiv for aim. You're never chayiv for eishes av. Not like the brisa that says only when it's not roy for you. So we want to know what's pshat over here. The Su, in addition, why would the Rabbanan do imchahi? Guys, what would the Rabbanan do with imchahi? If Abaya's limit is a limit, the Rabbanan hold you chayiv for both, right? Why would you be chayiv for both? Imchahi. Ella hahumi boyle l'cherav Shisha Breid Ravidi. That imchahi that we just dashed, we need for tomorrow's daf, guys. Rav Shisha Breid Ravidi, we'll meet him tomorrow. Okay. Yehuda nami hahumi boyle l'cherav Shisha Ravidi. So that's the case. We need imchahi for tomorrow's daf. That's tomorrow's daf. So where are we holding right now? What's pshat in Rabbi Yehuda that you only chayiv for mother and you're not chayiv for mother and father's wife? Alom Ravacha Breid Rav Ika Amakra. The pasuk says ervasa. The pasuk says ervasa. What is the pasuk? Ervas. Imcha loy segala. That's not the pasuk. Okay. We have a pasuk, fellas. The pasuk says the following: Imchahi loy segala ervasa. I think that's the end of the pasuk that I cut off. Correct. Okay, I did a foolish thing. Fellas, this pasuk over here that I wrote for Chula, the end of the pasuk is Imchahi le'sigala erva sa. She's your mother. Do not be megala hor erva. Mashma that what? You only chayev for one erva, not for two. It's not the word imchahi that's doing it. It's the latter part of the pasuk. Ervasahi. You only chayev for erva, one, not eshesav. Okay, that's what Rav Ik is coming now to tell us. Comes along Rav Ik and tells us the following. Nachamo. Eli, you want to know pshat in Rabbi Yehuda of our Mishnah, who says if you never chayev for your mother's husband, you only chayev for mother, because it says at the end of the pasuk, ervasahi imchi leisagal ervasa. Do not be megal ha'erva mishum erva achas atam mechayva bita mechayv mishum shtei ervas. El meyato, if you can make such a diak, ervas kalos leisagala, the erva of your daughter-in-law do not be megala. It's lashon is nus. Eishes binchahi, she's your son's wife. Leisagala ervasa, it says do not be megala erva. So what are you going to tell me? Hachanami mishum ervas achas atam mechayv v'yatam mechayv mishum shtei ervas. What did our Mishnah say? You chayiv for two things. You chayiv for the daughter-in-law and you chayiv for eishes ish. But tanan abal kalas chayiv le mishum kalas le mishum eishes ish. Bein b'chayiv b'noi bein la'acham misas b'noi. Like Polyg Rabbi Yehuda. Look back at our Mishnah, guys. Look back at our Mishnah. Go from the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 lines, 9 lines up. Habal kalasai, I'm an aleph, guys. Habal kalasai, chayiv lo mishum kalasai, or mishum eishes ish. You chayiv for two. Bein b'chayiv b'noi, you chayiv for daughter-in-law, whether your son's alive. Bein la'acham misa, b'noi, if he's dead. So fellas, does it say by kalasa ervasa here? It says ervasa. So you should be chayiv just what? For kala. You should be two. You should be chayiv one. Yet you chayiv two. So Fred the Gemara, what are you doing? You tell him imcha ervasa is only one. If that's the case, kalasa also should be one. And it's not one. You chayiv for more than one. As I Fred the Gemara. And Rabbi Yehuda doesn't argue, guys. And Rabbi Yehuda doesn't argue. Ella kivin dechad gufahu afagav the trei surininu ksiver vasa. Since it's one body, you chayiv twice. Hachanami by mother kivin dechad gufahi afagav the trei surininu ksiver vasa. In other words, you know why it says ervasa lashon yachid, fellas, is because the two chiyuvim are kami machmas one body. So if you're with your mother, you have your mother and ashes of the father. If you're with your daughter-in-law, you have your daughter-in-law and ashes ish. So it says ervasa not to preclude you only be chayiv once. It says ervasa because the act of chiyuvim is in one body. So we're still stuck. What's pshat in Rabbi Yehuda of our Mishnah? And tomorrow we're going to get the shitas of Rava, a very, very difficult Gemara. The best Hashem Yisparach with Hashem's help, we'll get it.